So welcome today to Building a Social Media Strategy. What I'm going to go over today is just some great ways that you can start looking at communicating and engaging with your client and customer base. So let's start. Number one, the first reason why we do marketing is basically to get people to your website. That is the main thing you want to think about in anything that you're doing, because there's so much noise out on the internet today that the best place you can bring somebody is to your website so that they can actually stop, they can look around, they can find information where they don't have other things, being bombarded at them. Think about when you're on Facebook or on Instagram, how many ads come up or how often a video loops one into the other. So you really don't have time to breathe on a lot of these platforms. So our number one reason to use social media or to use any of the tools that we use in marketing is to basically end up directing people to our website. So what is marketing today? It's constantly changing, and I'll show you why. There are three main factors that we look at in marketing challenges, and one is knowledge. Because in social media, a lot of times, things are changing all the time. I have to wrap my hands around this on a regular basis. And because we're not going for new versions all the time, it just means that when we show up, things have changed. I don't know how many of you have seen the new feed on Instagram, but that recently changed. It almost feels like you're sitting in reels all the time. So once again, it's one more thing that you have to learn. The second challenge is time. I hear this all the time from people is that I don't have time to do this. And part of it is because sometimes we're not organized, but other times it means getting back into the system and trying to figure it out again. And then lastly is money. Social media or any type of marketing today is not free. Years ago, it was free. So to open up accounts and to get started, it's always free. But your reach is only going to be 1 to 2% of your audience. So it means if we want people to be able to see what we have in the form of products or services, messaging, we're going to have to put some money behind it. So basically, it comes down to this. You don't know what you don't know. And we say that all the time when I'm trying to train and teach people, and that is, you know a little bit, and then you know what you don't know in the form of, oh, there are certain, I know the TikToks out there, but I don't know how it works. But then there are things like what you don't know, and that is the time and commitment that you have to make to some of the platforms like that. So these are some of the reasons cycle. And basically what you're trying to do is you're trying to move people through that cycle. And you start with attraction. When people want to learn about you, they're going to go onto your website, they're going to check out your social media, and then you try and convert them. Are there calls to action? Is there a space, can they make a phone call? Can they sign up for your email newsletters? Then leads. What are some of the things you may get in a lead? It's an email campaign, maybe a lead tracking. And then hopefully you end up with a customer, and once that customer loves what you've been giving them, then they become that promoter, and then it basically starts all over again. But the social engagement cycle changes a little bit, and that is people want to get to know, like, and trust you. So when we look at the new prospects that walk in your door, we're trying to provide that wow experience and then trying to keep in touch with them. So when we think about know, like, trust, try, buy, advocate, that's basically how it works. And that is someone tells you about a business, and what do? You might look at their reviews, you're looking at their website, you're looking at all their social media channels. And then once they see that they've had some form of wow experience, then maybe they'll sign up for an email newsletter. But then eventually you get to get them beyond try to buy something. And once they buy it, then they talk about it. If they really like it, then that engagement happens, they're telling more people, and what happens? It starts the process all over again. So what are some of the social media trends that we're seeing in 2022, but really leading into 2023? The first is TikTok surges with Gen Z. So for people who are looking at audiences of people at about maybe 25 and under, this is where a majority of people are sitting on TikTok. TikTok at this point is giving a lot of the social media platforms a run for their money. Why? Because everybody is kind of flocking over there because they like what they see. They're seeing something different that isn't being offered on any other social media channel. And TikTok is very committed to what they do, and that's short form videos. They're not involved in anything else. So it's been a great network for younger people to feel like this is a new network. This is really based in what we want, and more people are going over there. We know that customer service is a big thing. And today people are getting onto social media channels because they want to be able to talk about customer care if there's a problem with their products or they don't know how to use them. And when I was reading through this recently, I was kind of laughing because back, it's probably now 10 Christmases ago, my stepdaughter got a laptop, and I'm the technical one in the house, so I unpacked the whole thing. I could not get that thing to turn on. And of course, there's no instructions. So I can't turn it on. I can't get it onto the Wi-Fi. So finally, I wrote to Best Buy and I tweeted them and I said, I'm losing my mind. I can't figure out how to turn this thing on. I said, there's no instructions. Within 10 minutes, this fellow wrote back to me and he's just like, instead of going over the orange button, hold it for 10 seconds and it will turn on. I was like, oh my God. Then he said he would send me the book. 30 minutes later, he got back in touch with me and he said, you know, is everything up and running? We were able to get it attached to the Wi-Fi. And I said, I did. I go, I felt like such an idiot. But what did I do? I hopped onto social media to get someone to respond to me. Because how many times are we sitting on telephones today and no one's answering? So we've got to use the internet in order to find people. So what they're finding is, you know, 53% of the people that are going on there with customer care issues. So, today we have to be responsive and kind of responsive in a quick way. A lot of people want something within 10 minutes. And if it's not important, they'll wait up to 24 hours. But for the most part, everybody wants things yesterday. And reviews are always going to be big. And especially if you've got people that are doing reviews for you and writing great things on social media. So this girl was writing something about Zappos and how great it was. So not only are they just leaving them as reviews on places like Google and Facebook, they're taking to social media to tell people how great they are. And then look at how quickly they returned. You know, a recent customer tweet with a same day response. So it means that at times we've got to be on the ball and on these platforms, speaking to people when they want to see us. And crisis management. And I want to go through something that actually happened over the weekend that it's an amazing way to show you how when you don't react quickly, what can happen. So over the weekend, it was really hot and a sports bar came out with a picture of Anne Frank. And basically what it said was, it's really hot out there and I should know. And people went crazy all weekend long. There were things going on and they sat around and didn't do anything. They were paralyzed. So 3 days later, they finally come out with a response. And the backlash that they have received for, number one, putting up the post and not recognizing immediately that it should have come down. The fact that somebody had mentioned that the owner saw it and thought it was funny. So now what they're doing is, if you go over to their Instagram page, it's like they have it listed as Julio. Like they've actually tried to take themselves off of social media because of the backlash that has happened. So I think today we have to be very much aware of the fact that cancel culture is out there. As much as, you know, I know in the media, sometimes the cancel culture isn't there, but when it comes to things like this, people can make or break a business. And, you know, even though they gave the apology 3 days later, people are still going at them going, you know, why did it take you 3 days for this? And people saying, I'm not going there anymore. I could care less. And this is what happens. But then look at another crisis management and they worked on this very quickly. And that was, who was it that did it? Weber Grill did a thing on Meatloaf and it said, I would do anything for love. And then this was the day that Meatloaf died and they put out a meatloaf recipe. And people were like, really? You know, now, but Weber's social media team stayed ahead of the crisis and they immediately apologized. So it kind of went up. They got a lot of backlash. It came down, an apology went out immediately. You know, we were trying to kind of play off of this thing, you know, and but they were able to look at it and say, we need to take care of this immediately. So you really need to be aware of what's going on and how people are responding to some of the things you do, because you may think they're funny, but at the end of the day, the rest of the audience, your customers, your clients, people within the community don't think it's that funny. And social media is the king of advertising. This is where people are putting a majority of their money today. So they're not going back to traditional marketing unless their audience is, more traditionally based. Today, they're going on to Facebook, it's Instagram. If you want people to find a job, it's LinkedIn, TikTok, people are putting money into. So they're using social media to drive all of their advertising. And you do get your best return on investment. So sometimes people will say, I really don't want to put any money into it, but Facebook really does have the best return on investment. And I use Facebook quite a bit with some of the companies that I work with, and we have a great return on investment. And I think part of it is because we also understand that we're using it in a local capacity. We're not really going out more than maybe 15, 20 miles from where we are. So we're able to really target that audience and be able to show them the things that we want them to see. And I think what people have to remember too, in Facebook, if you are on the dashboard, the first post that you see is always going to be a post that has gotten amazing engagement. It's usually someone you're connected to. They have a lot of likes, they have a lot of comments. And then the second one is an ad. And that ad space is there is actually for local advertising. So if you are seeing national companies in that space, it means that people aren't taking advantage of that position. And you can take out an ad for $20 and you can run it all the time, or you can just run it during a period of time of when you're getting ready to do some form of event. When we do events, 2 and 3 days ahead of time, we'll throw out $20 on an ad, and we're showing up in the second space, especially when it's something that's very local. And they're looking for trust and authenticity. So we really have to put our best foot forward, and people have to be able to see you. You can't hide behind your brand. People want to get to know, like, and trust you, and they also want to be part of your family. They want to feel like they are part of what is going on. So here's some stats on it. Consumers' reaction to a CEO's transparency on social means that they have more loyalty to a brand. They'll purchase more products from a brand. They'll post about the brand on social. Think about people who are heads of corporations that will come out and really post and represent, the company. People feel like when an owner takes the time to engage with social media or on a certain platform, they feel like that person is committed to their product, they're committed to their customers and clients, and also they're connected to their employees, because what they're saying is I can't expect any more than you. If I'm not on social media sharing information, then what is the expectation of me wanting my employees to do the exact same thing? And customers feel connected to brands, and they're more likely to buy over a competitor, recommend brands to their friends, be loyal to a brand, spend more money on the brand when that CEO is more active. And social shopping, we've seen this over the past few years, especially through the holidays, but Instagram has really expanded into making their network a shopping network also. I mean, to the point where there's an emoji at the bottom of your Instagram page that is the actual shopping cart or the actual little shopping bag. So they have made this part of their culture. And if you notice, very rarely are businesses advertising. They're doing more in the form of storytelling. They're doing more in the form of tagging different products within things. So if people like a certain bag that someone has, the ability to be able to click on that bag and go out to a shopping cart is amazing. So it's one-stop shopping. And once again, what are they doing? They're keeping you on the network. They're not having you go out to the website. They're making it convenient. And in a few quick clicks, you can purchase something and it can be at your door within the next 2 days. And short form video. I mean, this is basically TikTok. Oh, let's see if we can get it to work. It may not work in this mode. Let's say. It's probably not going to work in this mode. So, oh, wait, hold on. And I'm thinking I don't have my sound on. So I'm not sure you're going to be able to hear it. So know what I'm going to do? This could, yeah, I'm going to move to the next slide. But they are short form videos and they loop. I think it's kind of funny that Vine a few years ago never made it, yet this is Vine recreated. But also utilization of user generated content. And a lot of people don't realize that when you're on Instagram, you have this little tagged tab right here. If I click on that, anyone who has tagged me, especially if it's in an event, or we have a small retail section at the Norwood Space Center. So every once in a while, the vendors will actually tag us. And when they tag us, it becomes very easy for me to just share that either onto my posts, or I can share it up to stories. So you have a lot of great user content in the back area of your Instagram account, but it's also in your Facebook account. So if you go to your business page, if it's not as one of your tabs, click on the 3 buttons, you will be able to see a tab called Community. If you click on Community, Community will show you anyone who has tagged you in a post. So once again, it's user-generated content and it's people really talking about your products and services and how much they like them. So you have the ability to share that, and it's really easy because now you don't have to create the content. And Linktree, they're finding that more businesses are using link connecting apps because it allows people more than just one link. On Instagram especially, you're allowed one link basically in your bio. So by using something like Linktree, it allows you to now give people options. And if you go onto our Linktree, the options go down another 6. And those are all of the businesses that have a consumer base to them. Because what was happening was on the weekend, they were calling me saying, hey, is the brewery open? I'm like, why are they calling us? But if we're the main development, that's what they want. But if I can now put the, if you scroll down this further, now I have the brewery on there. So now that the brewery's there, they can click on the link to the brewery, they go right out to their website, and now they can find all the information that they need. And text message marketing, it's becoming bigger and bigger. And one of the reasons why is because we now have to start keeping track of where our customers and clients are. During 2022, Google is basically going away with cookies. So they're not going to track how people are getting to your website. And what they're basically saying is you are responsible for collecting information on your own if you want to be able to keep track of your customers and clients. So when you're going onto new websites, how many of you are now seeing that little pop-up? Hi, do you want to sign up for our email newsletter? When you sign up for the email newsletter, what's the second box that jumps up? Would you like to give us your telephone number? Because they want to be able to contact you. They know that text message marketing has a quicker response time. And if people like it, they can click on the link and they can go right out to the website, or they just delete it. It's that easy. So today we want to make sure that we're collecting both email addresses and SMS, because at the end of the day, if social media went away, do you have an email list? Do you know where your customers and clients are? If you don't, then you need to be collecting that information. It's very easy to do through normal email systems. So time to define. So what we're going to do is kind of define a strategy, and it's called a marketing strategy process. And we go through the process of, kind of discovery, where we're going to research. We're going to set some goals or some ideas of what we want to happen. We're going to look at maybe setting a budget and what our strategy is behind it. Then we're going to create everything we need. We're going to implement it, and then we're going to analyze. And basically, we're going to be doing that over and over again. That's what I like about the circle, is when you're done analyzing, you're going back into that discovery mode again. So what will discovery mode tell us? So it's going to tell us a lot about ourselves, our competition, and our customers. So it goes back to defining why we do what we do. And you really have to look at it from a point of not going after money. It's not based in money. Why do you get up every day, and why do you enjoy your business, and what makes you want to continue and help people? So there's always a why or a purpose. So I always go back to networking events. At networking events, we go around the room, and what do? We ask people, what's your name and what do you do? And at the end of the meeting, everyone's gone around the room and you go, I haven't paid attention at all. That's me. I'm so nervous having to do the next thing of what I do that I'm not paying attention to the 2 before me or the 1 after me. But if you start to ask people why you're doing what you're doing, why are you doing this job? That's when someone will tell you, I really like helping people. I like making sure that, when they buy one of our products, that it works correctly and that they're so happy that if it breaks, they're going to come back to us. But I really believe in this product. I may not be the owner of the business, but I believe in everything that we do for the customer and client, from our product to our care. So really start to look at doing the back, kind of defining yourself backwards. And that is, start with why, then how you do what you do, and what it is that you want as an outcome. The second thing is to define your competition, because everybody has competition. And we talk about this on a regular basis, and that is, number one, who's your direct competition? That's someone who's selling almost an identical product to yours. And I always go back to, I use craft breweries only because I've got experience with them where we've had them at the Norwood Space Center. And basically, when we're comparing little craft breweries, we're comparing craft breweries that are identical. And that means identical in size and identical in sales. So we had a really small one at the Space Center, but up and over the hill from where we are is Castle Hill. I'm sorry, Castle Island. I'm sorry, Jesus, I'm losing my mind. So it's Castle Island Brewing, and Castle Island is really big. They are everywhere. They do a lot of distribution. They help smaller craft breweries. They are indirect competition. So our small brewery should have been riding on the coattails of Castle Island. This was our old one. Because a larger competitor sometimes can help you in a smaller capacity. You can do programs together. You recognize that they're not a direct competition because you're too small, but it's enough to be able to say, if someone wants to go to a craft brewery, there's two of them in Norwood, so you can now go to either one. When we look at replacement competition, that's when we look at it and we go, okay, up the street is actually a little wine tasting place. And when you look at that and you go, okay, that's a replacement competitor, because it really isn't the same product. They're not doing beer, but they're offering a different alcohol choice. So when I have $20 to spend on craft beer and I don't want to go to the two that are located there, I can drive up the street and I can go for something different. And then we need to identify our customer. So you should have some form of idea or some form of profile on who those customers are. So, I've just done like a basic here, but, Mary is single. She's 32. She lives in Quincy, she's making over 75,000. She's got 2 dogs. She likes to buy stuff in person and online. She's part of women's causes. She's considered herself a foodie. Like, if you really get to know some of your customers, after a while, you're going to see that there's a commonality that runs through them. And as you find that commonality, it becomes a lot easier to go out and define who you're marketing to. A lot of times we go out and we just market because we say, oh, anyone from 18 to 60 could buy my products and services. But there truly is a niche market out there. So if you can't identify who they are, start thinking to yourself, who are the next 10 people that are going to walk in, or the next 5 people that may walk into my business? Or who are the last 5 that just left? And is there some form of commonality that I can say, it's definitely Gen Z, maybe it's an upper level Gen Z or it's a lower level millennial, but to be able to identify who they are makes it a lot easier to advertise. Okay. So we've gone from identifying who that perfect customer profile, or completely understanding or having some idea of who that is. Then we're going to look at what are their pain points. So what are the things that are bringing them into your store, or what are the things that are having them call you? Because a lot of times people are going to make decisions on pain points, or they're going to make decisions during a micro moment. And in a micro moment, people want to go somewhere, they want to do something, they want to know something, or they want to buy something. And normally that's because of a pain point. For those who have seen some of my presentations before, go back into Google on YouTube and look at micro moments through Google. And it's a quick 2-minute video that basically you can see yourself in the video, but then you have to look at it and say, okay, if people are looking for products and services that way, how are they looking for my products and services? So why are we setting goals? It means that it allows you to put a plan in place, because we can't stand around and look at a number of different things and not say at the end of it, what do we want to get out of it? And that is, by identifying our goals, it gives us some form of purpose and vision. It also allows you to say, if you want to do something, writing it down is going to help you do it a lot easier than when it's in your head. In our head, it always works. Yeah, I want to increase sales by 50%. But if you don't have anything written down and you're not looking at it, are you giving yourself some objectives on how you're going to get there? And also timelines. A lot of times we set these broad goals and it's like, yeah, I want to increase my sales by 30% during 2022. And then halfway through 2022, nothing's happened because you really didn't set a goal to say at the end of 6 months, this is where we want to be. So part of it is saying, yes, by the end of 2022, we want this goal, but how do we back into that goal? What are some of our objectives to be there? And really sitting down and saying, I'm going to commit to this so that at the end of the year, it's worked. And customers, you need to see what their wants, needs, and actions are through all of your data too. So, in order to set those goals, you want to make sure that by knowing your customer, knowing what they need, what they will do, and how they're going to take action, but then at the end of the day, you have to make sure that you're tracking it. So is marketing free? It was, but it isn't anymore. So 10 years ago when you hopped on, it was probably free, and it was even halfway free 5 years ago. But today they're recognizing that people are using social media marketing to, get in front of people, to have conversations, to engage. So now they're realizing, people will pay money to get in front of the right people. So now what we have to do is really look at a budget and say, I'm going to have my website, there's a budget there. Do I need direct mail? Maybe not direct mail, but maybe we want to use email. So email marketing systems today are not free. So you've got to budget in what it's going to cost you to use that. And I will say, when you pay for your email marketing, you use it. When you're not paying for it, then it doesn't become a priority. You have to look at your social networks and say, which social networks am I going to use? And if I have a large following on any of them, will I put money behind it? Some people still do really well with print advertising. And print advertising means that, maybe you want to put it in a newspaper if that's where your audience is. And you can kind of take print advertising, you can still incorporate it into your social media by making sure you have your website on there, by making sure you're telling people that you're doing Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. Online advertising, which you can find in any network today, as well as through Google. And then there are PR pieces that get picked up. There's event marketing that you can do. And TV and radio still works for some demographics. And what is your strategy? And this is where we want to do some research and development. So I don't know if I can play this, but let's see if I can. Let's just try. Come on, Seth. Seth Godin's great. He's a passionate, I'm going to just shut that off. He is a passionate marketer, and he talks about being remarkable. That's what you need to be in any situation for your product and service. You need to be remarkable so that's what people talk about at the end of the day. So if you have a chance, it's The Art of Marketing. It's Seth Godin, and it's just a quick little video worth watching. But then it starts with content. You really have to look at it and say, okay, what type of content do I want to create that will do one of two things? Will it educate or will it entertain? Because those are the two things that people are looking for today. So think about the content that you create. So if you're going to create, whether it's a video piece or maybe a written word, number one, is it shareable? Meaning, are you putting it on your website as a blog, or are you putting it on LinkedIn? Are you putting it somewhere where you have the ability to give people a link to get them back to that material, or give them the ability to share that material with other people? And is it, unique or controversial perspective on a certain topic? Think of things that are going on within your industry. And do you have the industry knowledge to be able to tell a story about something that is going on? Is it original? One of the biggest things the web is looking for is original content. They're not looking for you to cut and paste somebody else's content into your website or into your social media. They want you to create it and get it out there to be shared. Is it a presentation of material? Is it different from the norm? So what are you bringing to the table that somebody is going to say, wow, that's amazing? And is it thought-provoking? Are you giving a new perspective on what's happening within your industry or what's happening within your business? And is it timely? One of the things we used to do with a few of the companies I've worked for is really look at different things that are coming up in the media. And is it anything that's related to what's going on in our industry? Because if it is, sometimes you can ride the coattails of an idea, of a situation. Like look at that one that I showed you earlier with crisis management. Could you have put something together to say, had these people done these 5 things, they probably wouldn't have gotten the backlash? Or talk about maybe having that type of backlash and what you did to correct it. Is it an idea that's easy to understand? So is it something that, your customers and clients can understand? Sometimes when we work with accountants or we work with lawyers, there's accountants speak and there's lawyers speak. And sometimes you have to break it down and say, okay, if you weren't talking to another lawyer or you weren't talking to another accountant, how could we break this down for the average business owner? And does the overall context exemplify a high standard of quality? Is it a good quality piece that you're putting together? Or are you just kind of slapping it together because you think you need to? And then finding ideas can be really cool. Some of these slides are small and I know you can't see them. Anyone that would like the presentation at the end of this, I will give the link to Catherine. So you can just get in touch with Catherine at Metro South Chamber and I will have her send this out. But this is a great piece. It came from Art Plus Marketing. And basically what they do is they give you all these great ideas that you can do for social media content. And so what I did was I kind of split the graph because it was so long and I wanted you to be able to see it. If it was on the regular slideshow, then we would be able to, we'd be able to see it. So you can, like I said, if you want the link, Catherine can send it out. And then the other thing you want to do is ask questions. If you were looking for your product and service online, what would you ask? So start going in and ask a question and see what other questions come up. Or just look for something that's very basic. And when you actually scroll down your screen on Google, there's a section which are called featured snippets. And it says people who ask. So you can actually click on these and find out some of the questions that people are asking on a regular basis. So if it's a question that you hear all the time, why wouldn't you answer it? Why wouldn't you put together maybe a blog article on that? Or maybe do you have an FAQs page, a facts page on your website that answers some of these questions? Because you have to remember today, we're asking a lot of questions, not only online, but when we're using Alexa and Siri and any of these digital assistants. What are we doing? Hey Siri, and we're asking a question. Hey Alexa, asking a question. So think of the questions that someone might be asking about your products and services. And if these things are here, then take advantage of it and use those as content or use it as expanding your facts and questions. So creating a storyline that will tell a story. Because, and then of course, Siri's talking to me at this point because I called her. She never really, if I'm teaching and I call her, she answers. When I'm not teaching, she doesn't answer at all. So one of the things you want to start doing is saying, okay, if I write a story, I'm going to put something together. Do I have an image, something that evokes emotion? Can I write that paragraph or two to tell that story? And at the end of all of it, what do I want them to do? What do I want them to click on? How do I want them to go forward? And I think part of what you've got to do is remember, you're trying to educate or entertain. You're not trying to sell. So tell a story, don't sell. So tell, don't sell, because the more you sell, the more it turns people off. It's almost like, I get it. You teach this or you have this product or service. You don't have to keep reminding me that it's on sale. I know it's there. I'm here to learn something. So in that process, just make sure that you tell the story, you can tell the results. And then if you want them to click on something to go to a sales page or to see some of the products or services that you have, having that call to action button at the bottom is the way we do that. You know, it's a soft sell, but it's not being sold in the storyline. Or you can do a video or live, because today everyone loves videos. They would rather watch a 1-minute video or a 2-minute video versus reading something. So I think a lot depends on where people are in that moment. Someone might be coming home on the train and just think, I don't have the capacity to read anything right now because I've done so much work. I just want to watch things on a video. So what are they doing? Just kind of scrolling through videos. But if you have something that's worth saying, even if you create that content up above, create content. Maybe it's 500 words and there are 4 different things you're asking people to do. Now, step down and create 1-minute videos around those 4 things. So think of how you can take your content and utilize it in different capacities. And then I always call it for the not so graphic designer in you, Canva is out there, and Canva is absolutely amazing. For people that do graphic design, that's the place where they're going. I know myself, I gave up Adobe a few years ago because I wasn't using it enough. I wasn't doing the type of design I used to do. But the capacities that Canva has are just amazing. So if you don't have a Canva account, it's worth looking into. And for those who have it, think to yourself, it's about $100 a year for a pro version. And when you get that pro version, it opens you up to all the stock photos that are in there. So depending on how much you're doing designing or how often you want to be able to create something with a stock photo, sometimes it's worth the $100. So how would you search for an article? So that's the next phase. You've created this really cool article, and then you're giving it this big, long headline that really wouldn't be that searchable. So think to yourself, if I was looking for this article, what keywords do I need to have in the headline? And if you can't come up with one, HubSpot has a blog topic generator, which is great because what you basically do is you put some of the keywords in and it will start to create some ideas. And there's nothing wrong with taking 1, 2, or 3 of those topic generators, because during the month, you may want to share that piece of content in a number of different ways. And maybe you don't want to start it all with the same title. So if you're not understanding what I'm talking about, this is what I would like you to do. If you follow any news feed, such as the Boston Globe or anything like that, go over to Twitter. And what they will do is they're constantly posting articles. And one of their articles could have 3 different topic headlines, and it could use 3 different pictures. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to kind of bait you in on a different topic or on something that might catch your eye, something that might catch a Gen Z's eye or a millennial's eye, may not catch my eye, and I'm a millennial too, but no, I'm not really, but the thing is they're trying to get you to actually relate to the way the topic is being introduced. So by introducing it 3 different times, I may have gone through the first 2, but the third one was what caught my eye. My frustration in that is sometimes if I go looking for the article on the Globe after I've read it and then I've lost the link, then you can't find it because they've used it so many different ways. But in some ways, that's a great thing because it gets people there in a different way. And then at the end, what do you want them to do? Tell your story and then put your call to action at the bottom. And it doesn't necessarily have to be in the form of content. What you can do is just have a button. Have it, if you want them to click to that product, if you want them to click and learn more about the service, maybe there's a white paper that they can download, but get them to do something after you've gotten them to your website. So now it's time to implement. So now it's all about engagement. And that means that you're looking to take that information, because even though we post it somewhere, whether it's on LinkedIn or it's a blog article on our website, people think, oh, well, it's out in the World Wide Web, good luck. And it's like, doesn't really work like that. What you really have to do is you've now got to take it to a new level. And the new level means, how are you going to share that information so that people can find it on different networks? So what you have to do is you've got to get it out there on the networks, but you also need to show up. So we can't be just posting everything everywhere and then walking away from where we are. So you still have to go in and you still have to check your feed, and you have to like things, and you have to comment on things, you need to share things, because people will follow what you do. Go back to a CEO becoming really transparent in what they're doing. When a CEO is going out and commenting on things and liking and sharing, when you're starting to see those people on your feed, then you think to yourself, wow, that person is like coming online and doing these things. So the thing is you may not consider yourself, a big, high-end CEO, But at the end of the day, people know you. And when you show up on some of these things, they love it. They love the fact that you're a small business owner and that you're taking the time to comment or share or like something. And share those with email marketing. Email marketing is still another great way to get things out, and take it a step further. If we go in with SMS or text message marketing, now you can text somebody the link to your email marketing. They can click on it, they can go in, they can read the articles, and then they can make decisions. But this is a great way to be able to hold on to email addresses, telephone numbers, and these are the people who are looking to hear from you. And then some people may like it in other capacities. One of the things that we are seeing today that people are enjoying are billboards, because the price of billboards, I think, has come down over the years because now they're all digital. So it's really easy for them to post something and take it down. So it's not something that you're paying people to go up on a board, to have to, paste it all up there, then come in, take it all down. So there are great ways to use traditional marketing in very untraditional ways, because everything has gone into a digital capacity. So are you analyzing your data? So you've done all this work, and now do you know what the results are? So what it means is you need to go into the back end of, whether it's your computer or into the back end of the support systems that you use in social media. So that may mean the platforms, it could mean your email marketing, but are you going in the back end and looking to see, I wonder which post resonated the most with people? Was there one that got a lot of views but not a lot of clicks? Were there some that maybe didn't get a lot of clicks but got a lot of views? Or switch them up. But what you want to do is you just want to see how many people went out to your website from Facebook, how many people opened your email and they actually went in and clicked on things. Like, we can get into that type of data in all of these platforms. So you've got to take advantage of what is there, because it's going to tell you the direction of where you want to go next. And using on your website, do you have Google Analytics, which basically tells you what's happening from the front end, where people are clicking and where they're going on your website? Or do you have Google Search Console, which is really the back end, and that's where the Google bots are going around and they're figuring out keywords to be able to, index your pages within the web. So these are two really important systems that can help you identify your statistics. And I know sometimes Google Analytics can be a little complicated, but sometimes it means look at 4 or 5 different stats. If you want to see how many people visited your website, how many pages they went through, and how long they've been on the website, that's a good thing. And then if you want to see where they came in, what pages they liked the most, it's going to give you some idea of how people are seeing your website and the things that they're most interested in. So let's go through real quick on some of the top social media platforms, because we spend a lot of time there. So when you look at YouTube and Facebook and WhatsApp, we're spending hours upon hours each month in a lot of these apps, depending on where we're doing the most relating. So let's start with Facebook, number one. It is one of the largest social platforms, but I'm not sure how many of you just saw this morning, they actually released that they had no growth during the second quarter of this year. And they're actually a little nervous that this was the first time that they haven't seen growth and their revenues have declined. So is it that people are tired of Facebook? Are they moving on to other places? As much as people are there every month, are they really engaging? I know when I first joined Facebook, not only did I mortify my children, but I also, I used to use it a lot. And I find today I don't use it as often. Am I on it? Of course I am, but not to the degree that I was years ago, because I hit the weekend and I'm like, I'm off. I do this for a living and I'm just like, I could care less. So a lot of times I might only be on Facebook once a week now. But I still use it as part of, whether it's my professional or my personal profiles on social media. But it's part of the Meta family. Back in November of this past year, Facebook took all of their platforms and put it into one, as a lot of different places, Facebook, Google, Microsoft, to name the top 3, are starting to move into what is called Metaspace or the Metaverse. 2.7 billion monthly users. So it is still the largest platform that people use. It is multi-generational, so you will find anyone from Gen Z all the way up to our elderly population. And my mother is on it. She is 85 years old. It's a scary experience, but she loves just like connecting and seeing her grandkids, seeing her great grandkids. She thinks that some of my friends talk to her. That's a great thing. But she likes being on it. She has some friends that are on it. So, you know, if that means that's the only way that she gets to see updated pictures of grandkids and great grandkids, because how often are we printing off photos? When's the last time we went to CVS and did some photos? We don't. So we keep everything in our phone. But multi-generational primary audience is 30 plus. It's the most interesting, engaging, or even polarizing your content is more likely to go viral on Facebook. They lean heavily, like it's like anything. Facebook has been changing a lot of what they do. I think they're also going into, you know, they have watch. And I think given another year, you're going to see that be something that's going to compete with Hulu and Netflix and the rest of them. And they do have shopping capabilities, engagement, but they also have 200 million businesses. So they still are the largest platform, even for businesses to be able to put their products and services out in front of the platform. And then we have Instagram, which is the second round of the 3 or 4 biggest tools that Facebook has. So they're part of the Meta family also. So when we look at Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and Messenger, those are 4 of the top platforms that, you know, they own, that probably come within the top 10 for social platforms. They have over 1,500,000,000 monthly and daily visitors. It really is, it's a lifestyle app. There's a lot of e-commerce, and the whole thing behind it was based in photography or in video. You can engage in a number of different ways. So they have posts, they have stories, they have reels, they have live. So believe me, they're giving you many options to engage with your client base. Largest demographic is men and women under the age of 40. So what you're finding is it really is millennial marketing. Gen Z is there, but they're definitely moving over to other areas. So even with reels, I think you're going to find that most of the demographics that are enjoying this is 40 and over, but I think we could probably go to 35. And it does have a large shoppable network. I mean, when we look at our tabs at the bottom of the page, you know, you're searching, you're looking at reels, you're shopping, or you're finding your profile. So they're really beginning to identify and define what the platform really does. And then we have TikTok, and TikTok is giving Facebook a run for its money. They're probably going to reach 1 billion monthly users by the end of 2022. Largest platform to Facebook and Instagram. And it's those short looping videos that kind of run 60 seconds out to 10 minutes. The average one kind of dies out at about 3 minutes. 63% of the platform is under 29 years old. So we're definitely in younger millennials, or definitely marketing to the Gen Z generation. The things that do the best is they're entertaining, they're comedic, they're interesting, trending dances. And that was what I was going to show you here. This fellow is actually he's a weatherman. And he's a content creator. He does some really great things. And this little girl is also a content creator. She dances with all sorts of celebrities, and she's a scream. So what happens, they start to collaborate on things that they're doing, so that each one of their networks gets introduced to the other network. One thing that TikTok has that none of the other platforms have at this time is called the Content Creator Fund, which means they will pay influencers or creators to create content and will actually pay them. On Instagram, what they will do is they will actually connect you with the brands, but they aren't going to pay you for creating content on Instagram. And then we have YouTube. So YouTube is part of the Google family, second largest search engine out there, with Google being the first. 73% of US adults report using YouTube regularly. And they've got 14.3 billion monthly visitors. And 99% of the people that are sitting on YouTube use some form of social media platform, which means they're using social media platforms, but everybody is using YouTube. And it was funny, when I downloaded this video, it's Harry Styles' new song that's out. What do you think is sitting on the front of it? Vivo. And, you know, it's funny, we're taking content, whether it's from TikTok and streaming it over to Instagram or vice versa, whether we're taking Vivo or I think it's Vimeo. Is that the other one? Vimeo, I think, is the other video network, and YouTube. But what people are doing is they're always making sure that they're getting it on YouTube because it's searchable online. And music is the most popular. Song is the most popular term, and games. Games are huge on the network. And you have to remember too, they have YouTube and they have YouTube TV. So they've kind of moved into all different aspects of social. And then we have Twitter, which has 329 million users. And if you had asked me 5 years ago if Twitter was going to be around, I would have told you absolutely not. It definitely had a resurge during the past 5 years in a political capacity. Back in 2017, they moved from 140 out to 280 characters, only because it gave you a better idea of what was going on before you hit a link. Most people on the platform, it's a liberal social media platform. 63% of the users are between the ages of 35 and 65, and they're mostly males. They make up 2/3 of Twitter. And a lot of people are going over there for breaking news. I hate to say it. I've been on Twitter since it started. I was taking classes in it in 2008. So I've always used Twitter to a certain capacity, but I do find now I hop on, and that's where I usually get my morning news, or if I'm looking to find out what's happening in a real-time scenario, you can find that. I remember back a few years ago when the airport in Germany had been bombed, and it happened during our time, 3:30 in the morning. I happened to wake up and I was just watching TV. All of a sudden, this thing came across on Twitter. I was like, oh my God, and you were watching video of people just hiding during it. But I mean, this was happening in real time. It had happened 10 minutes earlier, and I'm watching video on Twitter about what was going on. And it's communicating with people in real time. So when things are happening in real time, this is where you'll find them. And it's funny because YouTube is the most popular brand account that sits on Twitter. And then we have Pinterest, and Pinterest is a very unique platform, great for, 80% is women, and there's heavy concentration amongst millennials. Why? I want you to think weddings, babies, new home, cooking. What are they doing? They're putting together boards of what they want to do. And when you're putting together these boards, the other thing that's great is it's a social bookmarking situation where it's an embedded link. So I can take this charcuterie board, and at the end of the day, if I want to click on that, it will actually take me out to her website. I can now look at the whole thing. It probably lists all of the items that she used. So not only are we holding on to them for ideas, but we're also holding on to them so we can move forward and purchase the products if we need them. I have been a food blogger for the past 12 years. Of course, haven't done a food blog in the past 3, but it was funny. I was on my back end the other day. I'm like, wow, I still get 2,500 visitors per month. At one point, I was getting 25,000 per month. But if you had asked me, what social network sends the most people into your website, I would have said, hands down, probably Facebook. I have an account there, over 2,000 people. That's probably where it's coming from. I looked on my statistics in the back end, Pinterest. Pinterest, 80% of the people that come to my website are based in Pinterest. So when you look at something, you go, wow, to me, it has value, but I never put enough value into it to say, my God, that's what's driving my website. So there are some great things. If you've got products and information on your website that have links, you can embed them into Pinterest, and you can get people to put them on their boards. And when they need that product or service, they just click on it and they're brought out to your website. So the trends for the most part, lifestyle, fashion, decorating, DIY. Top trend this year is called Pearl Core, because pearls have come back in again. So everything is based around pearls. And lastly, we've got, I got 2 more. So Snapchat, and Snapchat has 300 million monthly users, very heavy with 25 and under. What are we doing? We're just kind of playing with filters. We're sending funny pictures to people. We're having conversations in the back end. And at the end of 24 hours, or at the end of just like people viewing your video, it goes away. But it's very selfie driven. It's a lot of fun. 90% of the users also use Instagram. And I laugh about Snapchat because one of my sons, that's the only thing he uses. So if I want to see some of the funny things that he's done with my grandchildren, I have to go over to Snapchat. So I don't mind it, and then I can send it back. but it's one of those things that I may not use it often, but when certain people or certain groups use these types of platforms, if you want to see what's going on, you've got to be part of the platform. And lastly is LinkedIn. And I think LinkedIn, I can tell you all about the platforms that are out there. I think one of the first ones you really have to look at, because when I did social media strategies, LinkedIn wasn't part of it. And I don't understand why, because it is actually a very important network. And they feel that during 2022 and 2023, as people don't want to go back into the office, as people want to go into business for themselves, as people are looking for other opportunities, LinkedIn has actually flourished in 2021, and it still continues to flourish in 2022. But it is one of the largest business networks out there. The funny thing is out of the 810 million, the United States only has like 92 million people that are on it, which I found very odd, but it's much larger in other countries. 60% of the people are LinkedIn users between the ages of 25 and 34. When I saw that statistic, I was like, wow, because I've been teaching LinkedIn to college students for years, trying to get them to understand the importance of using LinkedIn. And it is funny. I mean, my kids now range in age from 28 to 34. They are all on there now. They all have their profiles up and running. They recognize the importance of it. Why? Because they're trying to get new jobs. They've been in jobs for 2 or 3 years. They're ready to make that next move. And they know that if their LinkedIn profile is up and running, it's going to help them. And for the first time recently, I actually saw somebody in a job description that actually said, we're looking for a person, identified the whole thing. We want you to send us your resume and your LinkedIn profile link. I was like, wow, that was, because I think right now what they're trying to see is who are you connected to? Who are some of the, are you an influencer within LinkedIn, meaning a resource person, or are you just somebody that doesn't care about making connections? So if it's a sales position, I want to make sure that you have some form of sales capabilities or that you have a fairly large network. But this is a place where people are going to find jobs. There are educational capacities now where you can go in there and you can take courses, you can get certifications, and 4 out of every 5 people are driving business decisions. So what a great place to be able to connect with people, and you can warm up your leads by looking at other people's profiles. You have the ability to go into the companies. 58 million companies are there. A lot of companies are using this as an HR tool. So, being on the network is one of the best things you can do. And I'm going to leave with this. It has the greatest search engine optimization. So if people don't know where you are and you have a very unique name and you've filled out your LinkedIn profile and you've got it up, in running correctly, and believe me, there's a little chart that can tell you how close you are to perfect. You can be found on LinkedIn, on Google. So you're going through this whole process and people can now search for you on Google. So search Tricia White, Massachusetts. I can guarantee you I'm probably one of the first ones that comes up because I've been there for a long time. My profile gets looked at quite often. So I'm coming up at the top of a search engine. So people don't need to know where I work. They just need to put my name in. And Tricia White is an average name. Can you imagine what you can do with, unique names? So time to plan. How are we doing? 1:15, I think we're doing okay. So first, one of the best things you can do is create a content calendar. And that means go and just run off an everyday calendar that you can have 12 to 15 pages. I would say right now, if you want to start something, start it, not even August 1st, start it to September 1 of 2022 and take it all the way out to December of 2023. Go in there, identify different things. What goes on each month? What holidays are there? Is there any months that have certain themes to them? Are there holiday themes that go with them? Is it summer or spring or winter, fall? Are we setting the clocks ahead or behind? Are there some really fun food days that could be related to your industry? But what you want to start doing is saying, what are the things that happen within our industry each month that we could set as a theme and then base a lot of our marketing around it? And if you decide to do that, you can say, okay, here's our monthly theme. We're going to either write a blog article or we're going to do a video, or maybe we're going to do a live event. And then how are we going to take that and share it across some of our some of our platforms. So what you're doing is trying to identify, okay, on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I'm going to post to Facebook, but I'm only going to schedule Monday and Friday because Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I'm going to try and be on there myself. And on Wednesday, I'm going to try and post myself so that I'm still on the network and they don't feel like everything's being fed in through a scheduler. And you can do that with any one of your emails. You can sit down and write, okay, this is when I want to send this out. You don't have to do it by days. You can do it by weeks if you want, but put something together that has you looking at the content that you create and how you're going to distribute it. By having a theme, that theme can also ride you for a complete month. So if every single Monday I wanted to put out something on the theme, I know that I'm consistent and something is going out. So schedule. There are different things like Hootsuite, Buffer, Sprout Social, or if you're using Facebook and Instagram only, they now have the Meta Business Suite. And basically what that is a marketing dashboard. It's allowing you to now advertise, to post, and to schedule across Facebook, Instagram, and Messenger. So any final thoughts that might save you some time and energy? And number one is make time and set routine. So if marketing is really important to you, what you've got to do is make a date with yourself. And you need to do it on a weekly basis. And if it means on Sunday night, you sit for an hour and you come up with some ideas, and on Monday or Tuesday, you sit down for 2 hours and you work out those ideas for either the month or the week. Go back in, schedule things, and then once you have your head wrapped around whatever that idea is for the week, it's a lot easier when you see different things to be reminded of what you need to do in the form of posting. Secondly, there's got to be a level of authenticity and transparency to what you are doing. So, it means sharing a little bit about yourself, talking a little bit about different things that happen. Even when I'm teaching today, I try and bring a level of authenticity or transparency into what I'm teaching. So I'm trying to give you a little bit of an outlook of what goes on in my life and how it relates to some of the things that are important, because I'm a small business owner too. And get the apps. I mean, everybody is doing everything based off their smartphone today. So one of the best things you could do for yourself is get the apps that you're going to be using for your social media or for your email marketing, but get those apps so that it becomes easy for you to be able to post or do anything you need to do just by clicking your smartphone. And then be smart about your brand. Your reputation is your brand is your mark in the world. Guard it with your life. And the reason why I say that is because many people don't want to do social media sometimes because they don't understand it. And then what they do is they hire somebody who really doesn't know their brand. But the final, remark is, well, they're really good with a smartphone. And just because someone's really good with a smartphone doesn't mean that they should be marketing your brand. And if they are going to market your brand, what type of calendar, what type of expectation, what type of knowledge around your brand are you expecting these people to know? Because at the end of the day, if you asked me, I'm going to say that there was somebody who was a little bit younger that probably posted the Anne Frank Instagram piece, not taking into consideration or not having the knowledge behind what had really happened. And then you had someone older who said, wow, that's really funny, and not really looking at it from a point of view of, could this damage my business? So, it takes 18 to 36 months to get a brand up and running, and it can take one small error like that, and that wasn't a small one, that was like full blown, but that full blown could knock you out of business. And have fun. Social media is supposed to be educational or entertaining. So I think you always have to bring a side of yourself to it and show the real you. One of the best things you can do is bloopers sometimes and show that you're not perfect. When I had my food blog for years, people were always saying, oh my God, you're so good, cook. Everything looks perfect at your house. Until I finally had a disaster one day and like completely burnt out a ton of, pies. It was just like, I put too much chocolate in a chili. It was supposed to be cocoa. I put chocolate in by accident. Then I threw some coffee in. It was a mess. But when I brought those pieces forward, people began to laugh and say, oh my God, I'm just like you. My stuff isn't perfect all the time. And sometimes it's hit or miss. But, you know, when you are doing a blog, you are looking for something that looks good, because what do you want? People to click on it and to follow you. So sometimes just showing that authentic side, or showing that there is a level of imperfection in what you do, and it can make people laugh, that can be equally as entertaining. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come out of the share. And that way, if people are here and they want to ask any questions, I know in the chat, what do we have? Can you talk about Google AdWords? So Google AdWords are a way that you can advertise your business. And when we look at Google AdWords, you're actually advertising to the internet. So it's a worldwide thing. And it gives you the opportunity to come up on the first page of Google in a number of different capacities, whether it's at the very top, the very bottom, or on a side panel, depending on what your product or service is. Really good Google Ads programs are normally set up by people who are certified in Google AdWords. But there is a new thing called Google Smart Ads. And what Google Smart Ads are trying to get people to do is to take out advertising in Google AdWords, but do it in a simplistic fashion, meaning that they're walking you through the ad process. Once you're done and you've created your ad, Google will actually monitor your keywords. Normally in a normal Google AdWords campaign, you are, everything's being monitored by you. You're looking at the keywords. You're putting in all the words that you want to be found by. Where Google Smart Words will allow you to actually let Google find your smart words related to your website, your Google business profile, or your map. Google business profile, regular website link over to a page. But I think what you have to look at is when people put money into Google AdWords, if you do it correctly, people see great results. And in order to see great results, you also have to do it over a period of time. So for people who are new in business and they're setting up what's called a Google business profile, and that's where you're going to see the little map come up on the side of your computer screen, or it's the first thing that comes up in your mobile device when you put in the name of a company. When you sign up for that, or you go into your dashboard, there is actually a $500 voucher for Google AdWords, and you can take advantage of that. What I would say is, if you're going to take advantage of that, then walk through and think of, how can I use this $500 over a 3-month period of time? Do I want to add money into it so that I can use it over a period of time? And the reason why we want to do that is because a Google AdWord campaign for 2 weeks doesn't work. You will never see the results, and you'll never know whether it truly worked. So when you're committed to doing something with Google AdWords, you've got to commit for a good 3 months, because you need to see the results of what you're doing. And only the results are going to be able to tell you whether you want to continue with what you're doing or whether it worked. The other one that I would love to ask this question to too is Kerry. Kerry, do you have any insight yourself? So I get to work with Kerry on a regular basis. Kerry does a lot of web design, but she also does a lot of work with Google Business Profile. But did you have anything on that?
Yeah, I mean, I would just suggest, if you have, especially if you have a local business, which is probably a lot of people on this call, that you claim your business in Google Business Profile, and then fill out all the details as completely as possible. And then once that's done, it's a great place to get reviews too. So there's a link where you can send that to your customers. So yeah, I would it's a great place to get reviews too, because that's all part of the algorithm with Google. Like, if it knows you verified your business, it's, you're a legitimate business, people like you. Those are all great things to do with Google Business Profile, and it just helps you rise up in the search results for customers searching for you in your region.